Hey there, what's going on everybody? This is Snoo, and this is a crafting video all about Caustic Arrow or Toxic Rain. One of those two builds are fairly interchangeable. The information I'm going to share with you today can be used for either build for the most part. These are very popular League Start builds, and I started it myself with a Soul Thirst champion, Toxic Rain. I've now migrated into Caustic Arrow without Soul Thirst. There was Raider variants, there was Pathfinder variants, there's non-Soul Thirst variants. There's all kinds of different ways to play this build. These builds have been around for a long time. They're still very good League Start builds. It can be a little tricky figuring out how to scale the damage on them, and that's kind of what we're going to showcase today. I'm going to lay the groundwork for how you do that through crafting, self-crafting your own items on a budget to a certain extent, depending on what your budget is. I'm actually going to showcase a couple different versions of each item. One is very budget oriented and the other is a little more high upscale. The ones I'm wearing currently are definitely on the higher end of the expense, and the items in question today are going to be the bow, the quiver, and the amulet. Now, the reason these three slots are so special, first of all, you'll notice I'm running a lot of unique items, right? Because for these other gear slots, you can't really increase the damage of the build a whole lot. But the bow, quiver, and amulet do have particular modifiers that are quite capable of increasing the damage, most notably plus level of primary skill gems, and to a little bit lesser so would be damage over time multiplier. So all three of these items do have a sort of combination of those roles available, especially, as you can tell, hunter influenced items in particular. So again, I'm going to show you kind of a budget version of these, and I'm going to show you how to craft the ones that I basically have right here. We're going to use Craft of Exile as a resource here. You can use this if you'd like. Craft of Exile is a great website. It's not very buggy. It doesn't have very many inconsistencies, and I do believe everything I'm going to show you on here can be replicated with accuracy, total accuracy in game. Highly recommend you use this resource for yourself before you actually begin crafting the items, unless you're already very familiar with the crafts. So it's a great way to do a no risk, high stakes craft if you want. So I have 6 tabs open here. 2 are for the bow, 2 are for the quiver, and 2 are for the amulet. Budget variations and higher end. We're going to start with the higher end bow option, which in my opinion is the most important upgrade that you're going to get for any sort of Toxic Rain Caustic Arrow build. It is the most deterministic of the 3, and it's the highest value, meaning you get the most benefit, the most bonus or damage out of it. And it's actually the cheapest of the 3 as well, at least at the high end. So the way we start this is you're going to start by buying, it needs to be an item level 82 plus thicket bow. Doesn't actually have to be thicket, but fastest attack speed 1.5 attacks per second. And it should have, if you can, you're probably not going to be able to buy one that already has 28% quality, but there's an advantage to buying one that has extra quality because you can craft a certain quality enchantment on there, which I'll discuss hopefully later on. But basically we're going to start with alt spamming for one of 2 modifiers, either damage over time multiplier or attack speed. Now, which one you choose is up to you. It kind of depends on whether or not you want to focus more on Toxic Rain or Caustic Arrow. Toxic Rain scales the most from a local attack speed on the bow, but damage over time multiplier is still very good for that build. For Caustic Arrow, you don't get a whole lot out of attack speed. You get a huge amount out of damage over time multiplier. So in my opinion, if you're kind of on the fence, you don't know exactly which way you're going to commit, go for damage over time multiplier. If you are 100% sure you're going to focus on Toxic Rain and you're not really going to mess with Caustic Arrow or Val Caustic Arrow, then go with attack speed. If you're sure you're going to do Caustic Arrow, then definitely go with damage over time multiplier. In this case, to match the bow that I did, we're going to go with damage over time multiplier. I could spam this all day. It's going to take maybe a few hundred alteration orbs to hit. In my opinion, the only acceptable roll would be a tier 1, preferably the top tier. And actually here, we'll just put it on clean like that. So eventually you're going to hit this. And you know what? I was very restrictive on mine. I didn't settle for anything except the top roll of the top tiers. 26% damage over time multiplier here. So it'll take a little bit of time to hit that, but it's very cheap. You know, the base itself, this league is super cheap, less than 50 chaos. You're not going to even have to spend, we're not even invested a full divine into it yet to hit this. Now, this can be a little tricky. We have to actually we have to make the bow look like this, but also magic, or rather rare. It cannot be magic. It needs to be rare quality in order to continue crafting suffixes onto it. It cannot have more than one suffix when it's magic. So to do this, we have to actually do the regal annul trick, which is regal it into rare and then annul it, keep it rare, keep the same modifier. Now I got lucky, and there's only a 50-50 chance that's going to work out like this. But you do unfortunately have to keep doing this. Now, the good news is that for all intents and purposes, the bow is finished. It's completely deterministic from here on out. So it's very, very easy craft. It's a little bit of a headache to do the very initial part, but it's also very cheap, just a bit time consuming to do that. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the crafts, and we're going to do a bunch of meta crafting here. We're going to have to get your hands into your pockets, pull out your divine wallet, and throw some divine orbs at the game. We're going to start with can have up to 3 crafted modifiers. This is 2 divines to craft that, and then 1 more divine to do cannot roll attack modifiers. Now, you'll notice the suffixes are closed. It has no prefixes, 3 suffixes. We have to do this in order to exalt slam a guaranteed +1 to level of socketed gems. Again, increasing the level of gems is a huge way to increase the damage of this build. So we already got a nice looking bow here, damage over time multi, level of socketed gems. We are going to clean this off now. The way you do this is you go back to the bench, crafting bench, and you select remove benchcraft modifiers. It'll remove all of them for the price of, what, like 2 scouring orbs or something. And then we have to, oops, I forgot one more thing here. Sorry, I almost forgot a very important step. Back up. All right, we got to actually Hunter Orb Slam this. So the bow has to start uninfluenced. You cannot start with the Hunter Influence bow. It needs to be uninfluenced so that when you slam this Hunter Orb in, you actually get a guaranteed increased chaos damage over time percent roll is very high. This is the worst outcome, by the way. 60 to 69 is the worst outcomes. The highest weighting. It can go all the way up to 94%. So it's going to be a huge hit. But you do have to slam it in yourself. The Hunter Exalted Orb is about a Divine Orb too. So, sorry, backing it up there. We're at this part. We Exalt Slammed +1 level of Socketed Gem. Then we Hunter Exalt Slam. Increase chaos damage over time. And then we can clean it off after that. Okay, and then we go back again, and we can have up to 3 crafted modifiers. Again, 2 divines out of pocket. And then we have to benchcraft the Chaos Damage Over Time Multiplier Veiled mod, which you will unlock through the Syndicate members. Yes, it can have Chaos Damage Over Time Multiplier and Damage Over Time Multiplier, for up to 46% Damage Over Time Multiplier, up to 94% increased Chaos Damage Over Time. And then the very last thing is you're going to craft a prefix +2 level of socketed support gems. This is a Katarina specific veiled prefix mod, which you may have to purchase some weapons or Katarina weapons to unveil this yourself. But this is it. This is the finished product. Now, the cool thing about this is this pairs up extraordinarily well with an Empower support as one of the support gems, because what this does is this gives you 3 levels to your Empower support, and then the Empower support in turn gives you levels to your primary gem. My Empower support is level 4, and it gives me a total of 6 levels to my primary skill gem, and then it also, I get a bonus one from +1 level of socketed gem. So my bow gives me a total of 7 skill gem levels, which is just super strong. Not to mention all that damage over time multiplier and all the chaos damage over time. So if you're just kind of sitting on a, who knows what kind of bow currently, do whatever you got to do to rack up about 10 divines up in currency. It's going to cost you less than 10 divines to make this bow. It's only about 7 or 8 divines. Purchase and empower support level 1 if you have to. Start leveling it in the bow, and you're going to thank me later because it's going to increase your damage by a lot. I saw a damage increase of, I don't know, approximately 25 to 30% more damage, I think, when I upgraded to this bow. It was pretty insane how much more damage I got out of this. Now, maybe you don't have 10 divine orbs as a budget. In that case, okay, we're going to start you off with the sort of day 1 approach, which is a porcupine bow, item level 50, short bow. It's turned in by 6 cards of the porcupine. Extremely cheap. I think it's like not even 8 chaos now, probably, or something like that, to purchase that. And again, we're kind of harkening back to sort of day 1, day 2 experience of the league a little bit here. But it's going to come out rare quality. And what you do here is you can force +2 level of socketed gems through Shrieking or Deafening, Essences of Dread. Even though this bow cannot technically have +2 level of socketed bow gems, you can force it on via Essence anyway. And basically what you want to do here is you just want to keep using this until you hit 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes. Sorry, 2 prefixes, 2 suffixes, which I have not hit that yet. Okay, there, I finally hit that now. Now, alternatively, you could get very lucky in the process and just miraculously hit +1 level of socketed gems on top of it, or you could hit a high attack speed roll maybe, but this is probably what you're going to end up with right here, and you will have to blow 1 divine orb for cannot roll attack modifiers, Exalt Slam for guarantee +1 socketed gems, and then rebench either chaos damage over time, or, you know, if you're this cheap right now, you're probably sticking with Toxic Rain, actually. So you're probably going to benchcraft attack speed more than likely. Because Caustic Arrow doesn't really perform all that well until you get the first bow that I showed you craft. But anyway, this is one of the cheapest items that you would probably first start crafting as you're getting into Toxic Rain. And it gives you 3 primary skill gem levels, but it doesn't give you any damage over time multiplier. It doesn't give you any flat chaos damage, so it is vastly inferior to the other bow. But anyway, that is your budget version. Let's move on to the Quiver. Now, the Quiver is far less value for how much currency you're going to have to invest into this one. I'd say it's probably the 3rd item you would want to craft out of the 3 between the bow, Quiver, and Amulet. But anyway, I'm going to show you this now. This can be a bit of a headache. Just be forewarned. This is definitely a bit of RNG, and you're definitely going to be throwing, I'd say, a bare minimum of like 15 divine orbs at this Quiver to get what you want. So the goal here is high tier double dot multi. Damage over time multiplier with attack skills combined with chaos damage over time multiplier with attack skills, which means it, again, needs to be Hunter influence. Probably you can start it off Hunter influence if you want, but I recommend not. I recommend buying a Broadhead Arrow Quiver. You can use a Shark Tooth Quiver for life on hit if you want, but in my opinion, probably the attack speed one's going to be better. Item level 86, because it'll unlock all of the highest tiers. If you do that, you're going to clean this off. And once again, same story as last time. We're going for damage over time multiplier here. So I'm not going to sit here and try to spam this 500 times or whatever. I'm simply going to, let's see, I'll make it hit a prefix only so it kind of looks more natural, I guess. All right. And then damage over time multiplier. Okay. So it would look something like this, right? Now, this is actually good. So let's say it didn't even have this. In this case, you actually want to get the prefix, because what we're going to do from here is a little bit cheeky, actually. We're going to try and fill up the prefixes and keep the suffix side clean. So I'm going to now Regal Orb this, and I really want a prefix on this. If it comes out with a suffix, probably just Hunter Orb slam it anyway. But anyway, this is the best case scenario. This is what can happen. So now I'm going to benchcraft a random prefix, and now you notice the prefixes are closed, which means when I Hunter Orb slam, this is guaranteed a suffix. Now, this is kind of a wild shot, but we're just praying that we hit chaos damage over time multiply. The weighting is not very good on this, but it's at least halfway decent. And we slam it, and we hit fire damage over time multiplier. Now, you could work this out and finish this for some kind of ignite build if you want, if it's popular. Right? There is EA Ballista. I'm guessing maybe they use a Quiver like this. Not sure. So you do have some options to finish out the craft alternatively, perhaps if you want. But in this case, we're not going to do that. what we're going to do is, unfortunately, we need to isolate this. Now we have the Quiver is hunter influence. So it's not all bad. It's hunter influence, and it's got a whole bunch of modifiers we don't need. So we're going to remove the bench craft, and we need to isolate that suffix. The prefix doesn't really matter much. Okay, got lucky there. That was, basically that's going to be a 50-50 in the end to hit that. But what we got to do next is we have to bench craft. Suffixes cannot be removed. Suffixes cannot be removed. All right. Or suffixes cannot be changed, rather. That's what it's called. Yeah, suffixes cannot be changed. All right, that's down here. And what this is going to do is going to enable us to reforge harvest chaos. So we only have one suffix here, and this is going to guarantee us a brand new chaos modifier, and it's going to have it's going to be a suffix. The problem is there's three choices here. There's chaos damage over time multiplier, which is what we want. There's poison, which is what we don't want, and then there's chaos raised, which is also what we don't want. You're going to see real quick just how expensive this can get, because this metamod is 2 divines each. Now you can now use a brand new beast called Wild Bristle Matron, which costs a little over 1 chaos, but you can only do that if your suffixes are closed, because that is going to put a random metamod craft on. So if it's forced to go into prefix, that's good. It's going to guarantee suffixes cannot be changed. But because I have open suffixes on, don't do that, because it could come out onto a suffix. So we have to do it this way, and I got quite lucky. Okay, so in this case, I've already hit my damage over time multiplier, but the problem is I can't finish out the prefixes right for this craft unless I have only these 2 suffixes, which means we have to YOLO annul. I'm getting really lucky here to hit that. Now I've just gotten quite lucky twice in a row, so we're gonna spend a moment here to kind of show you the more likely options here. All right, so you can see that hit a bunch of bad stuff here. Not good. Now chances are, you're probably gonna try to annul, and you're gonna annul off the suffixes, and wow, I got lucky again. Okay, that's pretty crazy. I keep getting that lucky. All right, back to Harvest Craft, and oops, Chaos Res, not what I want. So again, it's annul. It's the annul life. Okay, there. I was hoping I would finally get. Okay, this sort of unlucky result. Now I'm stuck back at square one. Okay, it's a Hunter Influence bow. Once again, you're slamming for. You cannot imprint a Hunter Influence bow, by the way. So you're just forced to roll this every single time, which can be quite annoying indeed. So we're going to have to go back up here, damage over time multiplier. We're just going to manually put it on. And, oh yeah, okay. Sorry here, let me, there we go. Okay, so it looks something like this. Now, in this case, I show you this because now you can purchase some of these beasts and pay essentially only 1 Divine Orb a piece because it's magic, it cannot slam into the suffix side, which means if I beastcraft that on there, it's guaranteed to put suffixes cannot be changed with this beast, Wild Bristle Matron. Okay, so that's kind of nice. We do get a bit of a discount, but again, this is a lot of time to hit this modifier over and over and over again. But from here, we can, of course, we slam Chaos. So again, it missed, hit Poison. Okay, Chaos damage over time multiplier. Tier 2, you can kind of get a sense of how common this is to slam this. Now, I'm getting a little bit lucky. I'm seeing it quite often. I think it's like a 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 chance this hits the right mod, and it's almost always going to fill the suffixes with it, which means a YOLO and null is in order almost every time. Now, this would be a perfect outcome right here. Hit tier 1, and it kept the suffixes clean. That's not going to happen very often at all. This is a little more common. So, YOLO and null. Got lucky there. Okay, so this is where we want to be. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say you have to settle for tier 1 chaos damage over time multiplier. Definitely settle for tier 2 if you can still get it isolated. But the reason we need this suffixes open is because we got to go back to cannot roll attack modifiers. Now, here's something really cool. This is probably something many of you do not know. When I benchcraft cannot roll attack modifiers, I am free to safely annul this prefix off. I cannot annul, or sorry, actually, no, I'm mistaken because the prefix actually is an attack modifier. Whoops, okay. We'll get back to that. Just 1 second. In this case, the only thing you can do if you end up over here is you have to actually blow the 2 divine. Or no, in this case, sorry, in this case, what I would actually do right here, right now, is I would just craft a random bench craft and then B-slam the meta mod in again. Okay. And then scour. There it is. All right, there it's clean. Now, back to this. Cannot roll attack modifiers. Okay, and then from here on, this is kind of the fun part. So there are some really nice non-attack modifier prefixes. There's a whole bunch of prefixes for Quiver, but we can evade all of the ones that aren't useful for us by having cannot roll attack modifiers. This is why you want the bow to be right here, right now. So we're guaranteed to slam. You'll notice we're going to slam nothing but useful mods in here. Movement speed, damage over time with bow skills, max life. Let's do it again 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Same thing. Again, wow, that came out pretty good. Not bad, right? Again, 1, 2, 3. Same exact mods virtually every time. Now, it can also roll Pierce, but that has a lower weighting. So the cool thing is that I'm just showing you this because it basically guarantees you good mods on here. Oh, projectiles pierce additional target. Now, what happens if, let's say I hit this and I'm like, tier 6 life, not good enough. I don't want that. You know what? I can safely annul the life off, or it will rip the craft off, but it will never take off the damage over time multiplier. It will never do that because it obeys, with the annul, it obeys the benchcraft, evidently. I'm not sure if that's working as intended, but it's been that way for many leagues. So I can safely remove that if I want. Okay, this is pretty, yeah, that's really, really bad. So I would once again start annulling these things off. I would probably just keep doing this, although, you know, if you have 2 off here, you're probably better off doing it this way. Going back here, again, this is a lot of divines, 1 or 2 divines, just chucking it at the game over and over again. Let's see. Nope, I don't want tier 4 life. Not good enough for me. Oh man, it's costing me a lot, isn't it? Okay, let's say tier 3 life's good enough. If I get a high tier damage with both skills, I did. Tier 2 movement, good enough. Good enough for me, right? Done. Pretty good. That looks a lot like my bow. Okay, mine is, I think, tier 2, tier 1, I don't know, tier 3, and then I think I have Pierce, actually, as my other one. So that is kind of very close to what my bow looks like. And the cool thing is you can craft these, you can sell them for profit, 30 divines probably, 20 to 30 divines anyway. But it will cost you upwards around 15 to 20 divines to craft this in the end on average. Can be quite a headache. Let me show you the far, far, far easier budget version. You're going to purchase a base. Don't even worry that much about the base. You're worried about hitting a high damage over time multiplier with attack skills. Fracture. Just purchase this online. Find a fractured base, preferably shark tooth or broadside quiver. But maybe you won't get that option. Maybe you'll have to settle for something else. And it's very simple. Look how simple this is. We're going to go to Essences of Woe. Not even deafening, just shrieking. And we're just going to slam this multiple times. I'm going to slam this until I hit a high tier max life roll. It won't even take that long. Honestly, it will not even take all that long. Boom. Tier 1 life. Done. Except that I would like an open suffix too. And preferably a halfway decent suffix here. But you can slam this many times. I don't know. It's just a few chaos a piece per rolls. Okay. Maybe good. But the suffix isn't good enough. I want a better suffix. Nope. Not quite good enough. Nope. Close. Well, okay. Decent. So for the suffix, you're probably going to want like life on kill or resist or maybe even dex. I'm not sure. But, you know, again, basically you just kind of see what sort of things you'd hit. The focus is, of course, going to be on the max life roll, a high tier max life roll. I would prefer maybe like a high resistance roll as well. I actually feel a bit unlucky here that I haven't hit a high life roll with a halfway decent suffix. There's a lot of suffixes in the pool that are not very useful, unfortunately. All right, I don't know. Let's say I look like this, okay? Now, the last thing I do is I can just benchcraft whatever I need. Now, I typically use this quiver slot as a... Oh, I almost forgot. Sorry, I should have mentioned. The very last thing you would do with this bow back here is... I don't know. If you need lightning res, bench lightning res. If you need lightning and chaos, lightning and chaos. If you need... if you don't need anything, then, or if you need attributes, okay, strength and intelligence, boom, there it is. If you need attack speed, if you don't need anything else, go for 12 attack speed. Maybe, okay, there it is. Now it's done. Same thing with this one here, okay? Let's say I need... Let's say I need fire and lightning res, all right? Fire and lightning res. I just happen to need this to hit cap, okay? Well, done. Good, good bow. Very, very cheap. And the only thing you're really missing here is the second damage over time multiplier. That's about it. For way, way, way cheaper. All right, let's move on to the amulet. Now, my amulet was fractured with damage over time multiplier. I don't actually recommend that. I did do that because it was a much cheaper fracture, but it's really, really annoying to try and hit +1 level of all skill gems. Like, it takes, honestly, thousands of alterations to hit that. And they are very cheap, but it's so much time. I'm essentially losing currency by just virtue of how much time I just spend doing that. Definitely recommend going with +1 level of all skill gem. This fracture is upwards of 20 divines or more, so this craft is marked by an extraordinarily high base cost. But once you get the base, I mean, it's actually pretty easy, fairly deterministic. Most of the steps are deterministic, I would say. We would clean this off. Now, it doesn't have to be a gate either. I mean, it could be Onyx, Amulet, or whatever, you know. But a gate is the best because strength and intelligence are the hardest things to hit. All right, so we end up with it clean here. And what we're going to go for is basically damage over time multiplier. We're just going to keep blowing this over like this until we finally hit it. Going to take a long time, unfortunately. Sometimes when you hit this on here, nothing even happens. I mean, you can, you know, you can do this if you want, but I think just slamming these in. All right, so of course what we want to ultimately hit, again, same story as every other time, damage over time multiplier, preferably. All right, so what do you do at this point? So I like having aspect of the spider on here, so I know that's going to be one of the suffixes. I need to close the suffixes with something. So there are a few different things I can do here. You can sort of kind of YOLO regal this and try to just blindly slam a decent suffix. Wow, tier 1 rarity. I think probably the smartest thing to do is to benchcraft, I mean, actually anything, and then, oops, sorry, it's supposed to be a crafted mod. So you're going to benchcraft, I mean, literally anything, and then iceling it probably. You're going to hope to hit a suffix on this where it doesn't rip off this. Okay, so this would be perfect. So the goal here would be to rip off the crafted mod and hit veiled suffix. You can just settle for a blind exalt slam if you want. But in this case, you hit the suffix. I think you can block some of the bad things, because there are actually a lot of really bad things. I think this is the highest weighting one, so you would block with this one, and then you unveil. And unfortunately, there's a lot of bad things that can happen, but hopefully you get, I mean, I think the Holy Grail is probably like strength and intelligence roll, so you get the catalyst synergy there. But you could hit something like this. Mine is similar to this. And then I remove this here. and then you beastcraft aspect of the spider. Not exactly sure where that is. Here it is. Okay. All right, and then the suffixes are done. It's very simple from here on out. We're going to, again, beastcraft this beast once again because the suffixes are closed, and then we need to have cannot remove, or suffixes cannot be changed. And we are simply going to reforge Chaos, which is guaranteed to hit +1 all skill Chaos Gem. It's going to force roll into 4, 5, or 6 modifiers, usually 4 as a fraction one, so it'll be forced into 5. 9 times out of 10, this is not going to close all 6 attributes, and which means you will have the opportunity to hopefully benchcraft a prefix of your choice. Now, most people would do life in this case. However, in my opinion, non-channeling skills have -7 mana. 7? Okay. And this would be the end product right here. This would be good. So this isn't terribly expensive. It can be a little tricky if you will not settle for anything but a decent second suffix. You might be spending a lot of currency doing that. I mean, you can do kind of the exalt and null. Exalt and null might actually be even smarter because you might hit high tier all attributes or high all res or something too. But in this case, I kind of showed you how to iceling it for a decent result, hopefully. Bear in mind, iceling can go over to the prefix side instead. But I mean, that's okay. I mean, you can just kind of start over if that happens. All right. So that is it for the high tier amulet. The low tier amulet, Onyx or Agate or some halfway decent base, go for a high tier damage over time multiplier. I think when I crafted one like this, I settled for tier 2. And all right, so this is, we're not going to get +2 level of gems here. We're only going to get +1. So what I typically did for this, sorry, I actually made an error here. Sorry, so this item actually, that's not how I did it here. Let me pull it up properly here. Okay. So what I typically did, this is where live searches came in handy. I essentially waited until I saw an item that looked something like this. Okay. Looks something like this. What I was looking for was an item that had started off halfway finished, with the suffixes being very good. Maybe the prefix, maybe it's full prefix. I would purchase an item like this for 5 or 10 chaos, and I would try to YOLO annul a prefix. Oops, ruined. I'd throw it away. Buy it again. Okay, YOLO annul prefix here. You would have to do actually, and then I would close out the suffixes with aspect of the spider again. And I would have 3 very good suffixes here. Damage over time multiplier, high tier elemental res roll. I would also settle for high tier all attribute roll. Probably be even better. And then close out with aspect of the spider. It needs 1 open prefix here, which is why I annulled first. And then we beastcraft again, that wild matron. In this case, I will just simply put suffix cannot be changed. And just like in the other one, there it is, Reforged Chaos. Oh, that's kind of awkward. Usually it's just going to end up 4. Let me show you what I do in the case I ended up with 4. Ouch, that hit all 6, so that would be bad. Okay, this is what a typical looking amulet's going to look like when you're at this stage. I go ahead and Hunter Slam it, because there are a lot of decent Hunter or Slam options. Actually, I haven't hit any good ones yet. You can get Chaos Damage Leeches Life, which does work for Toxic Rain, or the other ones. You can hit Movement Speed, too. So you have some really decent options for the Hunter Orb Slam. There are a few useless ones, but I think you're about 50-50 on hitting something decent. Basically, Movement Speed or Chaos Leech or Pierce could be somewhat valuable. Tier 1 Movement Speed would probably be my favorite there. And then once again, non-channeling skills, 7. Done. That's a very, very nice +1 Chaos skill gem, damage over time multi. Amulet that still has aspect of the spider, a lot of great rolls on it. It may not look as good as that when you get done with it, but pretty cheap overall. Certainly the base would be infinitely less expensive, but it does create a sort of awkward situation where you're essentially going to have to live search one to show up that's halfway, that is already preset with good suffixes in place. So that is it, my friends. That's all for the bow, quiver, and amulet. If you have any questions, please ask in the comment section below. I know some of this, for some of you who are a little bit newer, a little more green to crafting, it's probably a lot to take in. It probably looked like everything, maybe for those of you who are already, crafting champions, it maybe you didn't learn anything new at all. I don't know. But at any rate, a lot of complexity in the crafting system of Path of Exile. I've learned a lot over time. Still got a lot more to learn. Let me know if there's anything you saw me do here that didn't look right, or you think there may be a better methodology for it. I'd be all ears for that. But in this case, we're done with this video. And I'm going to go back to grinding some more Crimson Temple, which is my second home, I think. I will see you guys at some point in the future. Bye-bye.